What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country that you need to know about here on a daily basis. Let's talk about a $1,400 fourth stimulus check for Social Security recipients, SSI, SSDI, VA, RRB. And let's talk about this happening here before the midterm elections because we have a major thing here coming. We have, first of all, we have inflation at a 40-year high. Next, we have the upcoming Fed decision to raise interest rates here, which is going to be massive here. So, because inflation is so high, we have seen pretty much everything go up. And we've had food up at 13.1% here year over year. Now, gas prices have come down, but pretty much everything has been up. And even with gas prices have coming down here recently, gas prices are still up from where they were a year ago significantly. Okay. So, and food prices are up dramatically. Food prices are at an all time high and pretty much everywhere in the world. So, in fact, famine across the world is at an all-time high and in multiple different countries because of how expensive food is and the war in Ukraine, having problems getting grain out of there, and the cost of all this and the shortage of food as well. And the supply chain constraints as well. So, all of this has been a factor to the inflation here in the United States and around the world. Now, the problem here is that the Fed has to raise interest rates to help bring down inflation. This has already started pretty dramatically. The last two Fed interest rate hikes were 0.75 and 0.75. That raised interest rates by 1.5% in the last 60 days. Okay. So that alone, and now we're going to have another interest rate hike. So you can see here how much interest rate hikes have gone up. Home interest rates are now in the 6 to 7% range. Okay. So you look at where they used to be in the 2 to 3% range. Now they're in the 6 to 7% range. This means that the average home price can be towards $1,000 a month more for the exact same home. The good part of that is that we're seeing home prices come down because a lot less people are buying homes. Okay, we're no longer seeing 20 different people go and bid on a home and bid 25 to $50,000 over the asking price of the home and multiple bidding wars on this. So that's where inflation comes down. But the problem here is that the Fed is getting so dramatic in raising the interest rates to bring down the inflation. The interest rates going up is affecting the whole country. It's affecting your credit card interest rates as well. Okay. So the problem here is that how do we help seniors? How do we help people on low income? How do we help people that are struggling already living day to day with their bills, with the cost of food, with the cost of rent? Now, in the past recessions, they have done stimulus checks as well. We've already seen three stimulus checks here. And also on September 28th, we're going to see a food stamp. I'll show you here. You can see here, SNAP Not Enough. Why the White House is holding a rare food insecurity conference this fall. This is set for September 28th. And you can see the big headline here, SNAP Not Enough. White House sets hunger conference for September 28th, plans a national strategy. So again, this could be another major stimulus type program to raise benefits for over 40 million Americans, many of which are seniors on the SNAP program, food stamp program. It also could lower the eligibility requirements, make more people eligible on the food SNAP program. It could also include the WIC program. I mean, you could see the headline here directly from the White House: SNAP not enough. Why the White House is holding a rare food insecurity conference this fall, which will be on September 28th. So I will keep you up to date here on our YouTube channel here. So make sure you're subscribed. Click the subscribe button down below and the bell icon. After you subscribe, you'll see the bell icon, so you get updates on our YouTube channel. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's completely free to subscribe. So these are just one of the things that the White House, that program, the SNAP increase. So last year, President Biden and the did a 25% raise with the annual raise as well. It came out to like 29% or so for the SNAP program. He did that without Congress, so he could do that through the USDA. That was a permanent increase. He did that when the temporary, it was like a 1 year temporary plan from Congress was wearing off as Congress, they couldn't come to an agreement with the Republicans and the Democrats to pass another temporary increase for SNAP. Okay. Remember that there's some states that are passing that as well. There's about half or a little bit more than half or so of the states that are passing temporary month to month bonuses on top of that. Okay. But we have all sorts of different type of stimulus programs. If you've been watching my channel, you know that there's about 32 different states right now that are passing state stimulus checks, tax rebate checks, property tax rebate checks, lowering taxes, and things like this. I'll link you to a video here at the end of this video with an update on this. California has a massive state stimulus check up to $1,050 coming out here in just a few weeks, actually. So that's up to $1,050. California had a stimulus check last year. They're just the largest states population-wise, but 32 different states have state stimulus checks and property tax rebate checks that have been passed this year, a lot of which are actually coming out here in the next 30 to 60 days. So I'll link you to a video I just did on that. And then the question here is, what else might we see like another stimulus check? Okay. So the food stamp raise might be coming from this conference. We just had a massive student loan forgiveness program that was passed again by the president through executive order. Again, this one he didn't have to pass through Congress either. So this was through executive order. The paperwork for this is going to start in October as well. And I'll keep you up to date here on this. This was for about 43 million Americans, $10,000 of student loan debt forgiveness, $20,000 for the lowest income Americans who are Pell Grant recipients. And payments will restart on January 1st of 2023 for anybody who has student loans after the $10,000 to $20,000. If you had more than that of student loans, that's when payments will restart. So again, there's lots of different stimulus programs that are still being enacted literally today. There's a lot of stimulus programs. People think that like, oh, stimulus checks are over, stimulus checks are never going to happen again. I mean, look, we literally have a $10,000 to $20,000 massive stimulus program here that was just enacted. In fact, the paperwork's going to be going out here next month in October. Okay, so if you think about this, stimulus type things aren't over. There's a SNAP conference here that's going to be going on at the end of September. 32 different states are passing state stimulus checks, property tax rebate checks, and all sorts of things like that, using the stimulus money from last year and their state surplus money. And there's really just, this is going to continue. You can see this headline here from Fortune. These states are sending residents stimulus checks up to $1,500 to combat inflation. In fact, we just did a video about a $3,200 check that's going out. Just did a video on that here. You can check that out here if you want to after this video. But and really, this is going to continue into 2023 as it's not like the money is run out. In fact, right now, states have, and the federal government as well, both are flush with cash. They have more money than they ever have before because of unemployment. So the unemployment rate is at a historic low. It's at a 50-year low right now. It's at about 3.5 or 3.6%. This is because the millions and millions of Americans have gone back to work, probably because of the inflation rate. So inflation's at a 40-year high and unemployment's at a 50-year low. So a lot of Americans have gone back to work. Some people have come out of retirement, gone back to work because of how high inflation is. Well, what that means is that more people are paying taxes to the states and to the federal government more so than ever. Even if your state doesn't have a state income tax, there's more sales tax being paid. There's more taxes all around being paid. Even states like Florida have an over $20 billion state surplus. Okay, so even Florida is flush with more money than they know what to do with it. $20 billion of surplus means after they paid all their bills for the year, they still have an extra $20 billion that they don't know what to do with. It's surplus money. It's extra money. Okay, so California has a $97 billion surplus. That was as of several months ago. If they recalculate, they kind of do it at the end of their fiscal year, but if they recalculated it and figured out how much money they have now, it would be over $100 billion. California has more population, but still, it just kind of shows you. Remember that it wasn't too long ago that California, the largest state population wise, was actually negative. They were in debt and they were running a negative instead of a surplus. They were running a deficit. So this just kind of shows you that the massive turnaround here that a lot of states have. In fact, I don't know of a single state not running a massive surplus right now. So every single state, as far as I have seen, is running a surplus. Not a single state's running a deficit. So this is really good news when it comes to, and the same thing with the federal government. The federal government has paid down. Last time I seen the count, $1.7 trillion they paid down of the federal deficit or the federal debt. So the government actually paid down $1.7 trillion for all the people that are always worried about the federal debt or the federal deficit. You ever hear people say, our children are going to have to worry about the federal deficit. They're going to have to carry it on their backs for decades. Not that anybody's carrying it on their backs or anything like that. In fact, if you go back to like 1990, the federal deficit was about 3 or 4 trillion, and then now it recently passed 30 trillion. Now we paid down like 1.7 trillion. But the reality of it is taxes on the federal level are like lower than ever. About 62% of Americans in 2020 actually paid zero or negative federal income tax because stimulus checks actually count as a tax refund. So if you got a stimulus check and if you paid a little bit of federal taxes, like you worked for the year, that's a discount off the federal taxes that you pay. Or when you get your tax refund at the end of the year from your taxes, that counts as like a discount back from the taxes you paid. So about 62% of people in 2020 actually paid no federal income taxes or negative federal income taxes based on tax rebates and discounts and tax credits and child tax credits, adult tax credits, all those different things. We don't know the data yet for 2021, but it's probably going to be similar. Okay. Remember, 2020 was back from when Trump was president. 2021 will be the first year when Biden's president. Um, but this is just kind of how it is. So even though the federal deficit, the federal debt has grown from 3 trillion to 30 trillion for round numbers, uh, federal taxes on the federal level are really at a historic low. 62% of Americans don't pay any federal taxes. Even if you work a job and pay federal taxes throughout the year, after tax credits and you get your refund check at after you do your taxes, and if you get stimulus checks, child tax credits, adult tax credits, and things like that, if you get money back, if it's more money than you paid in through the year and it washes out, then you essentially paid no taxes throughout the year. So that's kind of how it works. So will we see more in the form of other checks, like a federal $1,400 stimulus check before the election, I don't know. I think that that might be a little bit hard pressed because we'd have to have Republicans and Democrats agree, or they'd have to pass through reconciliation, or Biden passes it through executive order. Now, remember that back in 2020, here's a headline back from 2020. I'll zoom this in here. Trump's executive order guarantees $300 per week in enhanced unemployment for some workers. It was millions of workers. He did an executive order, just like Biden did his executive order here for the student loan forgiveness. Okay. Trump did his executive order back before the 2020 election for millions of people. It was $300 per week for 6 weeks, which was $1,800. It was $2,400 if states decided to pitch in $100. So it was $1,800 to $2,400 for millions of people who were on unemployment. Biden's student loan forgiveness unemployment is for people who are on or people that have student loans. Okay. These executive orders help out millions of people who happen to be in certain groups. Again, I don't get to choose. If I could choose, I would give it to everybody, right? But Trump's executive order took stimulus money from the disaster relief fund that was already approved by Congress. It was money that was sitting in an account, basically, and was already approved. Back at that time, back in 2020, I said, well, this is a gray area, but he's already done the executive order. He's already passed it. It could be challenged in a court of law by Democrats, but I think it would be a bad thing for Democrats to do to take that money away if they even win the challenge in a court of law. I think it would set a bad precedence for Democrats to try to take money away from unemployed Americans who just lost their jobs and do that and try to challenge that in the court of law right before an election. And Democrats didn't do it. And I said I thought that was a good thing. I think sending that money out to millions of people who need help, that was a good thing by former President Donald Trump. Okay, Democrats didn't challenge it, and the money stuck, and the executive order stuck, and now it kind of sets a precedence that that executive order could be done. Okay, so could Biden do that? You let me know your thoughts. But if you're asking me, I think he could. If you ask my father, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. He's been saying that since I was a kid. If Trump could do it, Biden could do it. Okay. An executive order like that would take money that's already approved from Congress. There's 600 to 800 billion dollars of stimulus money that's already approved by Congress from stimulus package 1, 2, and 3 that's already approved. So Congress has already approved it, like the disaster relief fund that Trump used, money that was already approved by Congress that's just sitting there in various different accounts of already approved money that's for other things that they haven't used and they most likely won't ever use, at least a majority of it. Okay. Biden could executive order that and shift it and say, I want to use an executive order to send this out to people on Social Security, seniors, low income people, and use it for anything else he wanted to via executive order, exactly like Trump did. If Trump did it, why couldn't Biden do it? Now, the Republicans could challenge it. Republicans are thinking about challenging student loan forgiveness, but I'll say the exact same thing I said back when Trump was president. You could go back and look through my YouTube videos if you want to go back and look at 2020, somewhere around that time, if you want to dig through my videos. I'm not from either party, Republicans or Democrats. You can literally go back and look and find those videos, and you'll see I said this exact same thing. It would be a bad thing for, in this case, the Republicans to challenge that executive order if Biden were to do it, or to challenge the executive order for the student loan forgiveness, because these are people that need the help. If you think about this, the executive order for student loan forgiveness, these are people that have gone years and years and years, decades. These are people that are teachers and nurses and people that go out and help people every single day and struggle to pay these student loans. And oftentimes they take out student loans for $50,000 and end up with student loans for 70 or 80 or 90,000 because of the interest. The interest is really killer. I personally think that they need this, the government needs to set the interest rates at zero, and maybe the government just pays the interest or something like that. Or going forward, the government makes all the loans for people at 0% and just figures that out, or the government pays the interest, or the government just takes over the loans and makes the interest 0% so that at least people can get an education and not have to pay interest. I think that's one of the crushing problems of our education society and our education problem today is the interest. I've seen a lot of comments of people that say this famous that this is stuck with me because this is part of the problem. This guy on Twitter said, "I'm 27 years old. I have $120,000 in debt just from an undergraduate degree. It's not from a master's degree or some or doctorate degree. $120,000. This is the cost of college nowadays. $25 to $50,000 a year in some cases. He's been paying almost $1,000 a month for 5 years already, $970 a month. And of the nearly $60,000 he's paid in this time, only $2,000 has gone towards his loan. So $58,000 for round number has gone towards interest. So think about that. $58,000 has gone towards interest, and only $2,000 has gone towards the actual principal, towards the actual loan. I ask again, how is this even legal? So this guy's going to get probably $10,000 in student loan debt cancellation, but still he's going to have, $110,000 in debt. This is why I think going forward to help the millions of Americans that have to go to college to be a teacher, to be a nurse, to be a doctor. Really, doctors and lawyers don't even qualify for this because of the income qualifications. They're not even going to get this. But still, all the people that go to college to get to work in all these fields, um, this is the problem with this is the interest. But there's a lot of things that need to be fixed here, and a lot of our seniors are really struggling. Hopefully, this food stamp raise will help out a lot of Americans. We're going to probably see a lot more things going forward here. Inflation's at a 40-year high. Interest rates are going up here dramatically. I'll keep you up to date here on a lot of this. Will we see more help? We're definitely going to see more help here going forward. The food stamp raise, more stimulus programs. We just seen a massive $10,000 to $20,000 for student loan forgiveness. Maybe it's you, maybe it's your brother, your sister, relatives of you. There's going to be more programs like this going on all the time. 32 different states are passing state stimulus checks, property tax rebate checks, and relief funds like that. Maybe your state is one of them. I'll link you to a video here on that here in a second. And there's also a $2,400 Social Security raise here. They want to raise Social Security benefits by $2,400 a year. And there's another bill to raise Social Security benefits to $1,415 per year. I'm sorry, per month. On the would be the minimum benefit per month of Social Security benefits. So there's a lot of different things that could happen, and I will keep you up to date here on these. A lot of these things do happen; they physically happen. 32 states have passed these. The student loan forgiveness of $10,000 to $20,000 have happened. 3 stimulus checks have been passed. Rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance have passed. I mean, we've had Paycheck Protection Program have passed. These executive orders have passed. So I'll keep you up to date here on all this stuff. Make sure to click the subscribe button down below to our YouTube channel and click the bell icon that appears after you subscribe. It's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos. New videos come out here on our YouTube channel every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can also click the thumbs up button for us down below to say to YouTube that you like our YouTube channel. Here is the newest video on checks that are going out to millions of Americans. You can watch this video next, or you can click this video here to see about these Social Security raises of $2,400. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.